Okay.
Entertainers and hospitality workers deserve a smoke-free workplace and should not have to sacrifice their lives for a paycheck. This is Entertainers Speak Out the Chronicles, a broadcast educating you and the rest of the world about the hazards and effects of secondhand smoke, menthol, and tobacco products, with the inspiration behind this broadcast and your host, Louis McTush, CEO and founder of Lumar Millennium Entertainment, Smoke-Free Rights for All, and Entertainers Speak Out for All. Good morning, world. I am J. Francis Springs. Today is the best day of my life, and I thank you for allowing me for a few moments to be a part of your life as we talk with the Honorable Mr. Louis McTush, the co-founder, CEO of Lumar Millennium Entertainment and Smoke and Entertainers Speak Out for All. And the inspiration behind the broadcast we're enjoying this morning, the Chronicles of Entertainers Speak Out. My guest, and along with Mr. McTush's guest, will be Jontavius Willis, musician extraordinaire, and the handsome Mr. Larry Griffith. So we'd like to good morning to both of the gentlemen and wish that you have a happy groundhog day.
Thank you. You as well.
Are you with me, gentlemen?
Yes,
Yeah.
good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Well, as Mr.
Mr.
said,
McTush,
go ahead.
Mr. McTush, you mentioned the principal force behind Entertainers Speak Out, Smoke-Free Rights for All, and now the Chronicles, which is your new endeavor to educate people on tobacco, menthol, vaping, all of the things that we need to be concerned about dealing with smoking and our health. Let me introduce you again as the founder of this organization and some thoughts with you, or with us rather, and then we're going to be talking with Mr. Willis and Mr. Griffith.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
All right. I hope I'm not breaking up, but good morning. I'm Louis McTush, and I'm the CEO of Lumar Millennium Entertainment and founder of Smoke-Free Rights for All and Entertainers Speaking Out. Our whole intended purpose in bringing about this initiative was for the very reason that we wanted to have a place where we could air our grievances about the exposure of our health and what is happening to us as musicians and entertainers, and those of us who work in the hospitality industry as a whole. One of the things that we've managed to do over the past few years is we're here this month to really celebrate the fact that we have a smoke-free Atlanta initiative that was passed on January the 2nd of 2020, 21 rather, I'm sorry, and went into effect last year. So what it is we're looking at is our 1-year anniversary to celebrate the fact that we have a smoke-free Atlanta now. We have a 15-state initiative where we're going out and talking to the individual musicians, our hospitality workers, the business owners, because we've found out and we've managed to prove over the past 2 years that we have the ability to control our workplace. And I just felt like our musicians should not have to sacrifice our lives for a paycheck. And once we got that understanding about the health risks that we're being exposed to, it has truly been a blessing for all of us as a whole, as we watch so many of our friends and relatives and musician partners and people that we spent years together on the road, individuals that we know never smoked a day in their life, but they're coming down with the same diseases that smokers succumb to. And we found people like Mr. Larry Griffith and John Tavius Willis who have really lent their voices to this initial conversation. And they were so instrumental in our celebration last year of the passing of the law. And we wanted to bring them back again this morning to let's have this conversation with our community and what it is, not only smoking, but what the menthol products that we as African Americans smoke, the ones that we are really succumbing to when it comes to using these types of products that are really putting our lives and health at risk. And then amidst of the COVID-19 dilemma, it adds another layer of illness to us that we are slowly but surely becoming a victim of it as well. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for lending your time, your ears, your support, your songs to such a valiant effort. And throughout the next 2 years, we will be doing this over and over and over again, having this conversation around the country. And I welcome you, gentlemen, to be a part of it.
No,
Mr. Springs.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, I apologize. It looks like I lost the link a minute ago, so I'm having to rejoin you. But let me start out with Mr. John Tavius Willis. Mr. Willis, you and Mr. Griffith have been in the entertainment business for a while. What are some of the instruments you play, and what experiences have you had in the venues you performed in?
Mr. Larry, you want to start off? You want to start with me?
Youth before beauty. You go ahead.
Okay, I got you. All right. Been playing, I guess, guitar and banjo and harmonica. That's about all that I play pretty professionally. And most of the venues I've played, but I guess it's different venues. Some of them listening rooms. I have ran into, quite a few that have had, smoking inside, but not as the ones that don't. But the venues definitely vary.
Now, Mr. Willis, as we're talking, what part of the country are you in, and some of the venues that you perform in, are they smoke-free?
I got you. I'm in West Georgia. And yes, most of the venues that I play in are smoke-free.
Okay. Let's go over to Mr. Griffith and ask you the same question.
Hi, I'm Larry Griffith. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, but I reside now in Atlanta, Georgia. Have been for a while now. Started off playing drums, and still do, but mostly playing guitar these days. But for years and years, I played drums. The venues for a lot of years were not smoke-free. That's just a recent thing that they are smoke-free now. So I'm sure that if there are any ill effects, they've taken place because I've been in those venues for 25 years or so or more. So luckily, they say it's never too late, but there are some effects, I'm sure, from that secondhand smoke. I didn't ever do the firsthand smoke, so but that secondhand smoke surely has affected me.
Gentlemen, let me ask the question: how do both of you feel after a night of performing in some of the venues that did allow smoking?
Well, there's one here in downtown Atlanta that we're real familiar with. It was the smokiest of all the ones I've ever been in my entire life. I used to come to the garage or come to the door and just peel off all that smoke. You couldn't see it, but it was like a cartoon almost, with the smoldering smoke coming up from those stinky clothes. So it was real bad down there.
Yeah.
So and then there's been other ones on the road here and there that have been that bad. What's funny is people feel like I guess maybe it's a nervous tick for them, but they got to have a cigarette or a cigar right in your face when they want to have these conversations with you. So it's been pretty bad all the way around.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to ask you the question. I'm sorry. I only experienced it a couple of times, and yeah, if you're playing for 4 hours and you're singing constantly, and if it don't get you on stage, it'll definitely get you when you get home. I wasn't used to it, and I was still living with my parents at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I walked through the door. My mom said, "I know you ain't been smoking no cigarettes," because I know I was probably about 19, something 20, but yeah, it was. I was coughing up smoke for I don't know, the next few days, and I made up in my mind that if I could help it, that I wouldn't play anywhere that allowed that, because I didn't like how I felt just sluggish in that first just those first 48 hours was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mr. McTush, you've had some experience as a performer. Share with the audience some of the situations for you.
Well, as a performer, I would say that was in my early years, and when I looked at it back then, um, even up to the past 10 years, I would say, when it really started to hit me that something's wrong here. Because I
Right.
was having a conversation with a blues artist, uh, and we were on the road, and he revealed to me that he had lung cancer. And I
Wow.
said, wow. You got what? I said, I've got lung cancer. I said, well, how did you get lung cancer? And you never even smoked at all that I know of. He said, no, I never smoked a day in my life. And that's what's confusing me. That was just the first time that the bell went off. The second time it went off was probably 5 years ago, because I had already started this initiative to look into why it is that a lot of my friends are sick. And we couldn't figure out why, because the majority of them, they were having diseases that smokers have. And I know they didn't smoke. So that's what sent the lights off in my head. So I started going to the health departments to try to understand what has happened. And then the second time it went off, like 3 years or so into my initiative, which started in 2010, was the fact that another friend of mine revealed to me that he had COPD, and he never smoked a day in his life. So it just reinforced my thoughts to make me go to the health department to start gathering information. And these are the people that I still work with to this day, because they understood where it was that I was coming from, with entertainers speaking out, giving us a platform to have this conversation, to not only warn our fellow musicians, but just to inform the general public of the toxicity of what it is that we're really being exposed to here. And when menthol came into the picture, then it really started to make a whole lot more sense to me of why it is we're so sick.
Now we're gonna break away here in just a second, because we've got a video of one of our guests that we want to play. But before we do that, Mr. McTush, is there a contact number that people can reach you, an email address, or a website that people can get information?
Okay, our website is smokefreerightsforall.org or entertainerspeakout.org. And our email is Lewmarinc, LEWMARINC @gmail.com. Or we can go with Smoke Free Rights, the number 4, all, ALL, @gmail.com. They're on our websites and our links, so please reach out to us and let's have a conversation, because we want to hear from you.
This is Entertainers Speak Out, the Chronicles. I am J. Francis Springs. We have as our guest this morning the handsome Mr. Larry Griffith, the extraordinary musician, Mr. Jontavius Willis, who we're going to hear one of his videos. I actually watched one of his videos right here on the Phoenix Network.
chain. I'm gonna move away and change my name. I said the world's in a tangle. What's going on? I'm going to a foreign land, make it my home. You can be having a good day, as jolly as you can be. I bet you'll get the blues when you turn on the TV, 'cause the world's in a tangle. Oh, what's going on? I'm going to a foreign land and make it my home. Let me hear that mandolin a while. To buy. Some promise of peace while we're living, but we have to get it when we die. The world's in a tangle. Oh, what's going on? I'm gonna go to a foreign land, make it my home.
Hello, I'm Shirley Jones of the Jones Girls. And as an entertainer, I'm speaking out. Being cooped up inside during these times can drive a performer like me crazy. But you know what's worse? Being cooped up in a club that's filled with tobacco smoke. Secondhand smoke shuts down a musician's ability to belt out the tune like we know we can. And I don't want nothing attacking the lungs that I use to make my living. And the smoking of menthol tobacco products in this period of COVID-19 can only put our community's health at further risk. Get the facts.
Going smoke-free has and always will save lives. That's why as we start the new year, it's critical you contact other Georgia city lawmakers to encourage them to adopt similar smoke-free ordinances or expand existing smoke-free protection to safeguard the health and safety of all residents, workers, and tourists. Wow, John Tavius, you had me patting my foot and doing the little head rock.
Thank you.
See that video or get a copy of it?
Say it again now.
I was saying that you had me patting my foot and my head shaking. I was wanting to know where we can get a copy of that video.
Oh well, I don't have. You can go view it on YouTube, or you can go view it on my professional page, John Tavius Willis, on Facebook. Those are the two places that it is.
Fantastic. Let's get back to the questions, gentlemen. Efforts are underway all across America to pass smoke-free ordinances in standalone bars and in casinos. As a musician, how do either of you feel about that particular effort at this time?
Go ahead.
I feel like it's definitely a worthy cause. I feel like just by the thing that we have said, smoking in venues and in places, where we're going to be, compromising our vocals and stuff like that. It's not, especially during these times. That's not ideal. And I think it should definitely be designated places away from performers, and I advocate for that strongly.
Yeah, I feel like it's a long time coming. And I'm glad it's finally here. It definitely needs to happen. If any quicker, that would be the quicker the better, because it's dangerous. We're dancing with our lives, and there ain't nothing cool about that.
You are absolutely right, Mr. McTush. Let me get your feedback on that.
Well, as Larry was saying here, and John Tavius, when you live this and you're putting your life at risk, this is when it hits you. This is when you come to the realization that, hey, something's wrong with this picture, you know, because as I continue to say, we live this. I've lived this for over 50 years, and I'm sure I've been in practically every smoky, mildew joint across this country and around the world. So it just sort of stands to reason that, when you almost know when people smoke in an area in your house, when you walk into a club and it smells like smoke, you know, that just automatically tells you just how dangerous it is. Because if you see people who smoke regular in their house, you see all that brown tar running down their windows and all over everything. It sets up in your body in the same manner. So we have to really realize that what is happening here. I remember when, just like we were talking about here earlier, about the fact when we came out of these clubs and went home, all this stuff was all in our clothes, our hair. We used to walk outside of a smoky club and we'd be blowing out smoke out of our lungs for 5 minutes. But we used to think it was funny. You know what I mean? It was humorous at the time. But after you started really thinking about it, looking at it, the fact that you smoked and then you're being exposed to everybody else's smoke, you know what I mean? What are the health results are we expecting? I mean, we cannot expect this to get any better. So we're just asking people to, if you don't want to stop, just take it outside.
Now,
Don't
Mr. McTush,
children, none of that.
Mr. McTush, you've had a chance to be in front of Atlanta City Council, and you've just recently been involved with the smoking ordinance in South Fulton. But with the other two gentlemen, if you had a chance to stand before these bodies of legislators, what would be the comments you would make to them?
I would say, just from my experience and my musician friends, I would just tell them to please think about the musicians and the performers when we pass the legislation, and just make sure that they're mindful and, and know that this is something that we really need if we really want to prolong a lot of entertainers' careers and lives, because we had a lot of people that cut short because of it. And I say I'm a definite advocate for it.
Yeah, I would tell them that I'm a witness because 3 years ago I had throat surgery, and a lot of that came from constant being around secondhand smoke, because I never smoked myself. So I would hit them with that firsthand info on the effects of it, and that's how I would approach it.
Gentlemen, how do you think that with the present health climate we're undergoing, COVID-19, how do you think that is impacting the fact that people are still smoking?
Well,
Either one of you jump in.
I'd like to weigh in on that one. It's not really surprising, but the one thing that I did want to say is that, smoking is an addiction. And that's the one thing that we have to really approach this from that manner. It is an addiction. It will take treatment. We have smoking cessation available to you. Just call 1-800-QUIT-NOW, your health departments, our CDC, our American Cancer Society. All of these people offer you free smoking cessation products that will help you get off of these toxic chemicals that we manage to put into our bodies, not really realizing that it's more than just about being cool anymore. It's about saving your life. And, and if you're smoking over your children, just think about that. Even if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for them, because they've got a life to live. And believe me, 30 minutes of exposure to secondhand smoke, you've already started to do damage.
Mm-hmm.
Larry and John Tavius, I'm going to ask in the next 90 seconds if each of you would add to what Mr. McTush has shared.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would just agree that right now, with Mr. McTush, it is an addiction. And also, we would see that it just be an influx of death, you know. So I think it is good to just, I don't know. I found myself, I can't tell anybody how to you know, deal with it, you know, any addiction that they have besides call folk, but I don't. Yeah, that's really, I don't have anything to really
Okay. Larry, what about you?
Yeah, I echo his sentiments. Absolutely. My mother was a smoker, a menthol smoker, for the entire time I was growing up, and it definitely had effects on me. It really did more than anything, that it normalized it. So I didn't know that, for one thing, that it was affecting me like that, and for another thing, that there was anything wrong with it, because this person that I loved more than anyone on the planet did it, so it couldn't have been that bad. So that was the biggest thing, the normalization of it. When I first started taking drum lessons at 11 years old, I was sitting in this little box of a room, and my guy would smoke cigarettes right next to me, and this stuff was blowing in my face. He was the best musician that I had ever heard at that point, and he normalized it. You know, it's like, well, I guess it's okay. So they prepared me for this kind of future where I didn't even think until people like Lewis came along, you know, or until I had throat surgery myself, that it was that bad, because these people that I really cared about normalized it. So it is a daunting task trying to get that message out there that there's nothing normal about it. And, you know, I, for one, appreciate you, Lewis, for this, because it's a big thing, changing those perceptions.
Sure. And, you know,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
What I was going to say is that, you know, when I step in front of the city councils, one of the things that I have to stress to them is I have 23 different relatives who have passed away, and every last one of them smoked. We come up in an age and a time where smoking was almost the norm, you know, because everybody smoked a cigar, a pipe, cigarettes. We couldn't wait to smoke a cigarette. We used to steal cigarettes from our parents and go out behind the back of the house or wherever and then smoke the little cigarettes like we were pretending to be grown. But the part that worries me the most is that we live right now in a time where big tobacco is coming back at us with the same enticements that they presented to us when we were kids. The little candy cigarettes, the little pink bubblegum cigars. And we see all of this playing again right now in flavored tobaccos. You know, they've got every kind of flavor you could possibly think of. And most young people, they just see it as candy, you know what I mean? Something that's smoothing, just like menthol smoothed out the harshness of tobacco.
Lewis, we've got less than 30 seconds left. Give us contact information for Entertainers Speak Out.
Yes. SmokeFreeRightsForAll.org and EntertainersSpeakOut.org.
Fantastic.
And our email is Lumar Inc., LEWMARINC @gmail.com.
Fantastic. Want to thank Mr. Jontavius Willis and Mr. Larry Griffith, and also the gentleman that is the inspiration behind this, Mr. Lewis McTush. I am J. Francis Springs. You've been watching the Phoenix Media Entertainment Network and WIGO Radio for the listeners. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing the information with us. Stay tuned in the future for Entertainers Speak Out, the Chronicles.
If your life has been affected or impacted by secondhand smoke, we want to hear from you. Send an email to lumarinc@gmail.com. That's LEWMARINC @gmail.com. Entertainers Speak Out, the Chronicles is a broadcast educating you and the rest of the world about the hazards and effects of secondhand smoke, menthol, and tobacco products. The inspiration behind this broadcast and your host, Lewis McTush, CEO and founder of Lumar Entertainment, Smoke Free Rights for All, and Entertainers Speak Out for All, invite you to join us for the next chapter of Entertainers Speak Out, the Chronicles. If your life has been affected or impacted by secondhand smoke, we want to hear from you. Send an email to lewmarinc@gmail.com. That's LEWMARINC@gmail.com. Entertainers Speak Out, the Chronicles is a broadcast educating you and the rest of the world about the hazards and effects of secondhand smoke, menthol, and tobacco products. The inspiration